What happens when a powerful leader in the healthcare world is gunned down in the middle of Manhattan in broad daylight? The bustling streets of New York City turned into a crime scene on December 4, 2014, when Brian Thompson, the CEO of UnitedHealthcare, was fatally shot outside the New York Hilton Midtown. The shocking incident unfolded just as the company was hosting an investor day inside the hotel. Witnesses recall the chaos, the sound of gunshots, the sight of people running, and the chilling realization that someone had targeted a corporate giant on one of the busiest streets in America. As investigators pieced together the events of that morning, the questions only multiply. Who would dare to carry out such a brazen attack? Was this a random act of violence or a carefully orchestrated plan? The answers remain unclear, but the hunt for justice had led to a suspect who might provide some of them. Join us as we take a closer look at the timeline of this case to understand the context and explore the latest updates. Brian Thompson's story was one of ambition and dedication. Born and raised in Iowa, he had humble beginnings, but his career would take him to the top of the healthcare world. After graduating from the University of Iowa in 1997 with a degree in business administration, he started working as a certified public accountant at PwC. Little did anyone know back then this moment would change everything for Brian. In 2004, he joined UnitedHealth Group, starting a journey that would span 2 decades. Over the years, Brian held many roles, each one adding to his expertise and shaping him into a leader. He worked as the chief financial officer for several divisions, including employer and individual, community and state, and Medicare and retirement. He even served as the financial controller for the company's employer and individual business. It was clear Brian had a knack for understanding the complexities of healthcare and making it simpler for everyone involved. But his big break came in April 2021. At 50, he was named CEO of UnitedHealthcare, the insurance arm of UnitedHealth Group. This role put him in charge of growing the company's global employer, individual, and government benefit programs. He led efforts to transform the way healthcare was delivered, focusing on value-based care. This approach aimed to keep patients healthy rather than only treating them when they were sick. Brian believed healthcare should be easier for everyone, a belief he often shared with others. Despite his powerful position at a $562 billion company, Brian remained a low-key figure. At meetings, he was known for breaking down complex ideas into simple terms, staying true to his Iowa roots. He earned $10.2 million in 2023, which was a reflection of his significant contributions to the company. Yet he was more than just a CEO. Former colleagues described him as whip-smart, kind, and approachable. Outside of work, Brian was a devoted family man. He lived in Maple Grove, Minnesota with his wife Paulette and their 2 sons. His wife shared that he was not only a great leader, but also an incredible father and husband. For someone so accomplished, Brian's life was grounded in love for his family and his desire to make healthcare better for millions of people. December 4, 2024 started like any other day for Brian Thompson. He was in Manhattan for an important investor meeting at the New York Hilton Midtown. The bustling streets of New York were filled with energy, but in a moment, everything would change forever. That morning, just outside the hotel, Brian was gunned down in broad daylight. The shooting sent shockwaves through the city. UnitedHealthcare immediately canceled the meeting and issued a statement expressing their heartbreak over Brian's death. They described him as a respected colleague and friend, someone who had touched countless lives during his time at the company. The tragedy left Brian's family shattered. Paulette Thompson, his wife, released a statement saying their lives would never be the same. She described Brian as loving, generous, and someone who always lived life to the fullest. She asked for privacy as their family grieved their unimaginable loss. Meanwhile, the police wasted no time starting their investigation. They followed every lead, searching for answers in a case that felt almost unbelievable. After 5 days of digging, they announced they had a suspect. Now, before we talk about the suspect, let's first explore the intense 5-day investigation that unraveled piece by piece. The search for Brian Thompson's killer was one of the most intense manhunts that had been going on recently. The hunt began almost immediately after the shooting on December 4, 2024. Witnesses reported seeing the suspected gunman flee the scene on a bike, heading straight into Central Park. From there, he didn't stop. He ditched the bike, hailed a taxi, and made his way to a bus depot. Now it's important to note that this wasn't a random act of violence. Every step of his escape seemed carefully planned. Police quickly began their work, piecing together every clue. Surveillance cameras around the city were scrutinized. Investigators followed up on tips that poured in from concerned citizens. But for every lead they followed, new questions emerged. Who was this man? Why had he targeted Brian Thompson? The answers were still out of reach. The next day, the investigation gained momentum. Detectives worked around the clock, combing through security footage from the Hilton Midtown, Central Park, and beyond. Each clip provided another glimpse of the suspect's movements, but none revealed his identity. Meanwhile, tips kept coming in. Some led nowhere, but others offered pieces of a larger puzzle. Investigators remained focused, determined to track down the shooter before he could disappear completely. The pressure was mounting. By December 6, the police had uncovered more details about the suspect's escape. They believed he had left New York City on a bus using the George Washington Bridge bus station. Surveillance footage showed him entering the station, but there was no sign of him boarding a bus. It was as if he had vanished into thin air. This moment was critical for the investigation. Detectives searched the area, hoping to find something that would lead them to the suspect. That day, they recovered a backpack they believed belonged to him. The contents of the bag were kept confidential, which has added another layer of mystery to the case. Police also began exploring possible motives. Could this have been the act of a disgruntled employee? Or was it a client unhappy with UnitedHealthcare? The motive wasn't clear, but the idea of corporate connections added intrigue to the case. The investigation took a surprising turn on December 7. Police shifted their focus to Central Park, where divers began searching a pond. What were they looking for? The public could only guess. Some believed the gunman might have dumped evidence in the water during his escape. At the same time, the NYPD released new images of the suspect. One photo showed him standing near a taxi, while another captured him sitting in the back seat. In both pictures, he wore a blue medical mask, making it even harder to identify him. These photos circulated widely, with police urging anyone who recognized him to come forward. But even as the search expanded, the suspect's identity remained a mystery. Investigators collected a fingerprint from the Starbucks purchase and sent several items for DNA testing. Still without a name or a concrete lead, the case seemed to hit a standstill. The following day, divers returned to the same pond in Central Park. Their presence showed just how determined investigators were to leave no stone unturned. They were willing to follow every possible lead, no matter how small. But publicly, there was little progress. The suspect remained unidentified, and police declined to comment on the investigation's status. Behind the scenes, however, detectives were working tirelessly, chasing every angle they could find. Everything changed on December 9. Early that morning, a McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania called the local police. A man matching the suspect's description had been spotted in the restaurant. His name was Luigi Nicholas Mangione. Police arrested 26-year-old Luigi Mangione at a McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania. The arrest came after an intense search that spanned 5 days. Mangione was taken into custody without bail and is now facing murder charges. However, he has made it clear that he won't go down without a fight. During a court hearing on December 10, Mangione's lawyer announced that he would not waive his right to an extradition hearing. This means Mangione is fighting his transfer to New York City, where the murder occurred. While this decision might slow the legal process, officials are confident it won't stop his eventual trial in New York. New York Governor Kathy Hochul wasted no time addressing the matter. She announced her plans to sign a governor's warrant to ensure Mangione faces justice in New York. Luigi Mangione is facing multiple charges, including second-degree murder, 2 counts of second-degree criminal possession of a weapon, possession of a forged document in the second degree, and third-degree criminal possession of a weapon, according to court records available online. The case has sparked national attention, with people online debating whether Mangione is a hero or a villain. This debate, however, does nothing to diminish the gravity of the crime or the evidence against them. The death of Brian Thompson, CEO of UnitedHealthcare, has shaken Minnesota and the entire nation. He was a respected leader, and his murder has left many in shock. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey called it a shocking and devastating loss and described Thompson as a great man. Senator Amy Klobuchar shared her sympathies with his family and co-workers, calling the act horrifying and shocking. Governor Tim Walz said that the loss was terrible for both the business and healthcare communities in Minnesota. This tragedy has also raised questions about the safety of high-profile executives. Reports say Thompson didn't have a bodyguard with him when the shooting happened, although UnitedHealthcare does have a security team. Some people are comparing this to other big companies like Meta, which spent $24 million last year on security for its top leaders. Now, many are wondering if more could have been done to protect Thompson. As investigators dig deeper, one big question remains: why? Why would someone target Brian Thompson? Was it personal, or was there another reason? What really happened on that December morning, and what will the investigation reveal next? The evidence linking Mangione to the crime is piling up, and it paints a chilling picture. The gun found on him during his arrest matched the shell casings found at the scene of Brian Thompson's murder. This wasn't just any gun. It was a ghost gun, a firearm assembled at home that is nearly impossible to trace. Adding to the mystery, the officers also found a silencer which matched the one used during the shooting. But that's not all. Fingerprints found on a water bottle and the protein bar wrapper near the crime scene also matched Mangione's. Investigators believe he bought these items at a coffee shop while waiting for his target. This detail ties him directly to the moments before the attack. Mangione was also found with clothing and a mask similar to what the shooter wore that day. His fake New Jersey ID matched the one used to check into a Manhattan hostel before the shooting. These details leave little room for doubt about his involvement, but perhaps the most surprising piece of evidence is a spiral notebook found in his possession. Investigators say Mangione claimed this notebook contained clues about the attack. While the exact contents remain undisclosed, they are said to provide insight into his mindset and possible motive. Now the question is, who is Luigi Mangione and what could have been his motive? Mangione's background is filled with contrasts. He comes from a prominent family in Maryland and was valedictorian of an elite Baltimore prep school. He went on to earn undergraduate and graduate degrees in computer science from the University of Pennsylvania, one of the country's top universities. But beneath this polished exterior lies a different story. Mangione reportedly suffered from severe back pain since childhood, an issue that shaped many aspects of his life. In fact, he once lived in a co-living space in Hawaii, where he shared stories about how this condition affected him. His Facebook posts reveal X-rays of his spine, showing numerous screws inserted during surgery. These posts, paired with handwritten notes recovered by police, reveal his frustration with the U.S. healthcare system. In these writings, Mangione criticized what he called parasitic healthcare insurance companies and corporate greed. He expressed anger at how the U.S. healthcare system is expensive yet doesn't lead to better life expectancy. These notes give a glimpse into what investigators believe could be his motive: a deep-seated resentment towards the very industry Brian Thompson represented. Adding another layer to his story, investigators discovered that Mangione had an accident in July 2023, which required emergency medical care. Could this experience have deepened his anger toward the healthcare industry? Police are exploring this possibility. Mangione's behavior since his arrest has only added to the drama. As he was escorted into court, he shouted about an insult to the intelligence of the American people. His words, along with the evidence, paint a picture of someone deeply dissatisfied with the system and willing to take extreme measures. The Mangione family shared their feelings in a public statement after Luigi's arrest. They said they were shocked and heartbroken. They couldn't believe what was happening and shared their sadness for Brian Thompson's family. They ask for prayers for everyone involved in this tragedy. This situation has left both families in unimaginable pain. For Brian's loved ones, it's not just the loss of a great leader, it is the loss of a husband, father, and friend. He was someone who made a real difference in healthcare and touched the lives of many people he worked with. His death has left a big hole that can't be filled, but his contributions and legacy will always be remembered. Meanwhile, the case against Luigi Mangione continues to unfold. It's not a simple story. Investigators are still trying to figure out the full picture. While Luigi's arrest has provided some clarity, it has also brought new questions. People want to understand what drove him to take such drastic action. As this case moves forward, everyone is watching closely, waiting to see how it all ends. This story is far from over, and the search for justice continues. What do you think about this case? Do you believe there's more to the story than what we've heard so far? And whether or not the suspect motive is actually true? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for joining us on this episode. If you found this story compelling, please like, share, and subscribe to stay updated with our next in-depth investigations on Real Crime Zone. See you in our next video.